Okay, folks, good afternoon. And let me just do the disclosure again. I'm sorry. Hang on one second. Oh my God. I'm getting a little bit too old for this. You can hear me now, right? Everybody? Can you hear me now? Yes? Okay, I'm not seeing, okay, good. I'm seeing the waveform. 2 seconds. I apologize. What's that old joke? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? I don't know where that comes from. 2 seconds. I just need a file and I gotta find it. We got plenty of time, plenty of time, plenty of time. No worrying. All right, so I want to go over all the tools that I use, but I like to set the trade up early and then revisit it, okay? And then revisit it. So one thing I just want to do, because I didn't have the sound on, for all the people that are new and don't know us, if I could find the file, my files just keep disappearing. It's going to be one of those sessions, I can feel it. Where'd it go? So Netflix, you know we do all this testing, and the whole idea with the testing is to try and figure out the time that the earnings are going to take place. So let me just introduce one more time. Welcome to the Earnings and the API Trade Room. My name is Lee Goldstein. I'm the Trading Director at 10-Minute Trades. Please remember, all the trades we discuss are for educational purposes. It is possible to lose money trading futures. Trade carefully, please. Okay, so we've done a lot of research. When we first started out, a lot of you know that we were using a setup called the one-click range trade. And the one-click range trade required a lot of manipulation of orders. And when we can, we've gone through a lot of testing, and some of the earnings seem to be very reliable in the time that they release. So we're able to convert a lot of the trades to breakout trades, and it does make it more manageable. So Netflix, when you use our software, is now a breakout trade. Now the market closes at 4 and Netflix releases their earnings about 20 seconds after the market closes. So that's the high wire that we're walking on, putting the orders on the charts after the market closes, but before Netflix does their earnings. So I'm going to put my setup in, and I'll come back and do it again in a little bit also. So we're dealing with a breakout trade, and I've got a 50 tick bracket, and I've got an entry time of 16:00:10. 16:00:10. And I've got, that's what I'm trying to decide, how many I want to trade today. I've got a stop of 65. I've got a first target of 16, a second target of 28, and a third target of 69. I've got a breakout trade. My orders are going to go on the chart 16:00 in 10 seconds. Now, if Netflix releases their earnings 5 seconds before, then I'll miss the trade. So there is another alternative, and I'll explain what that is. But first, I just want to get the trade basically set up, the basics. That's my basics. I'm going to save a template. Netflix. Today's date. It's called a breakout. have a template. Account warnings are off. I am going to use my real charts, of course, my real account. And the one thing I like to do before most of my trades these days is just look at the bracket size. And my charts are on sim. Just so I have plenty of room to do whatever adjusting I need to do. Okay. So there are quite a few tools that I like to use now, and many of the tools are just built into the software. One of the tools I like to use is if my second target gets hit, I can use the software to move my stop to break even plus a certain amount of ticks if my second target gets hit, okay? I'm going to move my stop to break even plus 10 if my second target gets hit, okay? Most everything else is default, all right? Most everything else is default. I've got a 50 tick bracket and I've got a stop of 65, but you can choose how many contracts you want to trade, how many, you know, what your exact targets are. They don't have to match mine exactly, okay? You don't have to. So that's my setup. I promise I'll come back to it a couple of times. But I want to just talk about a few of the tools that I use. When we started out years ago, we didn't have as many tools at our disposal. So one of my favorite tools is thinkorswim. Thinkorswim is also Charles Schwab, TD Ameritrade, same company. And what thinkorswim allows you to do, and this is available for anyone, if you have a multi-broker account with NinjaTrader, then you can connect TD Ameritrade to the account. So I'm able to watch Netflix stock on my NinjaTrader charts. But let's say that you can't and you really want to get involved with earnings. I'll bet you didn't know that for just a very, very small amount of money, you could open a TD Ameritrade thinkorswim account. They have live data, they have futures and stocks, and you don't have to spend a ton of money to do it. I'm talking under $100. You can fund an account, leave money sitting in there, learn to use the platform. So thinkorswim is a great tool, especially if you're going to trade, you know, a moderate amount of earnings. It's worth the investment because not everybody has a multi-broker NinjaTrader account. Now, if you do, you still need that other broker to connect to, right? So you can get live stocks, or you need a data feed. You need something to give you the live stock data. The other thing to remember is on your NinjaTrader stock chart, so that you see the data update after 4 p.m. You want the data series to be default 27, 24/7 on the trading hours, and that gets applied and okayed, okay? I remember when we first started doing this, I didn't know. I did not realize that if you didn't have that setting, you might not see the stock prices after hours. And I couldn't figure out why we weren't seeing those stock prices, okay? So Peter, Rhythmic doesn't do stocks. So that's the reason why I have an alternative, an extra account. So I can connect to that extra account. And again, I do want to thank everybody for coming, and I want to welcome, we invited a ton of people to join us. So a lot of people are new, and that's why I want to go over some of the tools. So again, we use the NinjaTrader platform, and I'm connecting also an additional brokerage account to my NinjaTrader platform. That way I can see the Netflix stock price on this right chart right here. Another very important tool, again, when we first started years ago, all that I was using, I couldn't figure out what to do. I didn't really know. I had never done earnings before. I had an idea that we could trade earnings using futures, because that's what we're doing. We're not trading the stock. We're trading the NQ futures that move very nicely on certain company stock earnings. So that's where NinjaTrader and our software comes in. But there are other tools. Obviously, you got to figure out where you're going to find out what companies are releasing earnings. Also, we want our computer to be in proper time sync. So another thing I'm going to do as a tool, I'm going to go to Time Is, the website, and that checks my computer to see if my computer is in proper time sync. And that's important, obviously, because we've only got a few seconds from when our orders go on the chart, right? And when the earnings get released in this particular case. In this particular case, Netflix is very close, like we said, to the market market close. So again, let me go over the setup for anybody that got here a little bit late. We're using our software for the setup. The trade type is a breakout trade, and I'm putting my orders on the chart at 16:00 and 10 seconds. My bracket is 50, and I've got multiple targets of 16, 35, and 69 ticks. And you can use 18 ticks on your first target. You might only be trading 2 contracts. So you could trade 16 and 40. You don't have to go for 70 ticks. Okay. And my stop is 65 ticks. And that's essentially my setup. It's a breakout, 50 tick bracket, 65 tick stop. And I'm trading my real account. And that's my setup. If my second target gets hit, my stop will move to break even plus 10 automatically. And that's my setup. The very important issues are the entry, the time of activation, 16:00 and 10 seconds, and the stop. Okay. That's our setup. Now, when our orders go on the chart, it'll probably be, the market might be pretty volatile. I don't want to get filled before Netflix earnings come out, so I may have to move my orders up and down a little bit. And if I need to, I can also center them with the adjust button. So the history of Netflix is we may very well have to do some adjusting. It's possible. There's some interesting things that happen. You'll notice that there will be movement on the stock chart. Sometimes there will be dramatic movement on the stock chart right before the earnings. So we'll keep an eye on the stock chart. Also, the other tool that I use that's very important is Earnings Whispers. .com, at least for me. You know, there are other tools, other websites I'm sure that are out there that people love, but I like Earnings Whispers. It has a great calendar, and I can see what's going on today by clicking on Tuesday, clicking on after the market closes, and then it has a list of all the companies that are doing their earnings today after the market. And Netflix is the biggest. It's at 4 o'clock, and it's the only one at 4 o'clock, so it should be first. If we didn't have the API report, I might also be interested in looking at United Airlines, UAL. They're at 4:30, but we also have the API report, and hopefully we won't be all excited with Netflix and forget about it. One quarter we were trading and we totally forgot the API report. This is pretty common that we'll have the API report on a day that we're doing earnings. So also you can click on calendar and you could check the various days. I know on Thursday I'm planning possibly an extra trade room. After the open, I believe we want to look at Snap. Snap moved very well last quarter, and I think IBM is on Wednesday. So IBM might be a possible opportunity. It was like we went this morning to trade Goldman. Not that much of a move on Goldman. A couple of people made a few ticks. We made like one tick, believe it or not. Goldman did not move nearly as much as I thought it would. I thought it would move significantly more. But let me just give you an idea what a earnings trade looks like. This was Netflix last quarter. And the interesting thing is our setup is very similar. And you get close to 4 o'clock. Now I went too far. Let me back up. So that's 5 seconds before 4 o'clock. The market closed. And then 16:00:10, our orders are going to go on the chart. They went on a tiny bit earlier. And the earnings came out just if you see, the stock was moving like crazy, but the earnings didn't hit the NQ until 16:00, and it looks to me like about 19 seconds it started really affecting the NQ. Okay, so there it goes, it explodes up, and I moved my chart. I couldn't see the chart for a second. It hit my 2.5 targets. So it was, a medium-sized trade last quarter. It was not a monster move, but it was decent. And, one of the things that we're dealing with today is the markets are darn volatile. They're very volatile. So I do hope very much that they calm down a little bit. And like I said, we don't have a ton of time while we're, trying to get set. If you use too big of a bracket, then you give up your profit, right? You don't want to give up your profit. So those are a lot of the tools that we use. We use Thinkorswim, Earnings Whispers, JOBB version 10, Ninja Trader, and then also I use Financial Juice Pro, financialjuice.com. The pro version of their website has a squawk box, and I listen to their squawk box in my ear with a headset, and that's usually how I know exactly when those earnings are released, because sometimes the chart can be a little bit deceptive. You saw, and I know it was quick, but in that Netflix video, the chart starts moving sometimes very dramatically early. Look at that again. Before the earnings came out, the stock chart was really moving dramatically. You could see it starts to pop around. It gives us a heads up that those earnings are coming out. Look at that movement. It looked for sure like it was going to be a short, but you notice it didn't move the NQ. It moved the NQ to the upside. So, and that was a nice winning trade. So one more time, the setup. Our software is a strategy that loads into NinjaTrader. It becomes integrated. OQ. Okay, OQ. It's a breakout trade. My activation time is 16:00 and 10 seconds. And I've got 3 positions. I'm looking for 16 ticks, 35 ticks, and 69 ticks. I've got a stop of 65. And that's essentially my setup. My orders are going to show up on the chart 10 seconds after the market closes. If my target 2 is hit, my stop will move to break even plus 10 on its own. And that's our setup. Any questions? CJ, what do you mean? NQ still moving 50 till 4? What do you mean? Also, I've got extra charts off to the side. I'm looking at Thinkorswim off to the side. It's very helpful to just keep a bunch of different charts open. So almost no matter how I look, I can see whether those earnings come out or not. Michael, I used a very similar setup. I'll usually change up the targets a little bit. My first target is a tiny bit smaller. My third target, tiny bit smaller. But essentially, it's almost the same setup from last time. Time-wise, I mean, this is the time that all of our testing shows that it works. We could get caught where we're not ready or where we miss the trade. I could put the orders on manually, but Netflix has been really releasing their earnings like clockwork over the years. So it's been very reliable to use a breakout trade. And look, if it happens and the earnings come out before we're ready, that's just part of trading this way, and it happens. There's been a few times where we've missed a trade. So it can happen. And you don't go crying in a corner. You just get ready for the next trade. And that's going to be Tesla tomorrow. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. And we've got possibly some extras on Thursday that we're going to be looking at. So there should be a lot of opportunities as the quarter goes on. Netflix is 10 seconds after the close, Arthur, almost always, maybe 20 seconds at most. It's usually really quick, really quick. So we'll see if our testing holds up. I think that it will. Yes, we've been testing it quarter after quarter so that we're able to do it as a breakout trade. So it is exciting. It's nerve-wracking. It's a lot of fun, but we'll see what happens. And then we're going to stick around and trade the API report at 4:30. And we'll do that whether we win or lose or have a draw. We'll still trade API. We've never, you're absolutely right that sometimes there could be margin questions, Peter. We've never, ever seen an issue with margins and earnings. And I have checked current earnings, current margins, actually just this second, and margins are currently set to normal with NinjaTrader. They are our broker on this trade. So margins are normal, but Peter's absolutely right. Sometimes the API report, perfect example, that's an oil trade, and the margins change because that's a 4:30 event, and between 4:30 and 5, some of the brokers do change the margins. So that's absolutely true. And there's just been a lot more attention being placed on margins because the markets are volatile. So, that's part of the issue. Volatile markets get brokers and traders more nervous, and margins become more challenging. So I'm just watching now. This is Netflix stock price. My trade is going to be on the left chart, and I'm trading the NQ futures, which generally have a pretty significant move on Netflix earnings. So I'm just watching and breathing. Watching and breathing. Not doing anything except waiting. Or orders, like I said, they'll show up 16:00 and 10 seconds. 16:00 and 10 seconds. Okay, so the close is taking place. So I got filled early. Netflix earnings they shot me up instantly, and I made $600 and $600 even on that trade. It was too fast to even adjust my orders or do anything. It's the fantastic beauty of the way that our software works on these trades. I have to stop for 1 second because my heart is exploding into my throat. It happened. That was the fastest Netflix trade ever. The orders, I think that next quarter, we'll put our orders on the chart a few seconds earlier. I just want to watch the price. And I do want to invite everybody. I want to invite everybody to our special Tesla website tomorrow. It's going to be free. And because we're having this 10-year anniversary celebration, we want you to come to these earnings webinars. Obviously, we want you to join with us. And if you see us do this for free and make money like we did today, then, we believe that you'll enjoy coming with us in the future and learning how to do this. So there should be a whole lot of extra opportunities also that we're going to be going through. Like I said, Thursday with Snap, and we have IBM. So let me just explain what happened, all right? And we do have a recording of this trade. Our orders were placed on the NQ chart seconds before Netflix earnings were released. Now, we don't care if their earnings were good, bad, or indifferent. All we care about is that the earnings move the NQ market in one direction and they don't do a whipsaw, okay? So that's the key for us, is we don't want a whipsaw. Now, there was some movement up and down. There was some movement up and down because I can see, well, you know what? I'm not going to say that yet. I'm not going to say it yet. The move was so fast, it was impossible to know exactly what happened. So I'd like to see a roll call of anybody who traded. I want to thank people on YouTube also, the folks that are watching us on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching us. I think most people are probably in the trade room. So if you traded with me, did you make money? So Weldon made some money, 655 bucks. Michael made 65 bucks on the MNQ. That's like a $650 trade on the full size. Now look, Netflix earnings, they must have been very good. Or maybe their guidance was very good because the NQ is loving it, okay? The NQ is absolutely loving it. Fred, 135 bucks. Eva, 36 points. Eva, you traded earnings with us. Okay, awesome. I didn't know you were going to do it. Look, and there are people that are probably trading the NQ now. We do it differently, okay? We trade Netflix earnings at the moment of the earnings. Now, I could have had bigger targets and it would have worked today. I have to be honest, I was being a little bit conservative because I felt the market might be whippy today because of the way that the markets have been behaving for so long. The markets, they've just been very challenging, okay? But we had a $600 trade in an instant. Anybody else? Did anybody else trade with us? Langford, $405. So look, folks, really, if you're just visiting, make sure I'm inviting you. We have a couple more minutes to stay here. Folks on YouTube, I want to invite everybody on YouTube also. This is the link that you can use. It's the same link that got you here today. You can use for tomorrow, but if you want to come tomorrow, you must go and register right now because you've only got the next 10 minutes or so to register for Tesla tomorrow. And this is the link, 10mtpro.com. If you want to come tomorrow and learn more about trading earnings using the futures, please register at this link, 10mtpro.com. Let me put it in the trade room for you. And you've got to do it in the next 10 minutes or so. All right. It's free. And we're letting everybody into these workshops for free because we're celebrating our 10-year anniversary. And we've been trading earnings, I'd say for about 4 years, we've been trading earnings in this very unusual, different kind of way, different from anybody else. And it's really been an exciting, fun way to trade earnings. And, you know, the more research we do, the more we've learned that we can simplify the process. Let's look at the video and see what happened. It was a pretty amazing trade. Give me 1 second to render the video. Does anybody have any questions about what they saw? Anybody have any questions? We traded real money in a real live account, you know, taking real risk in front of everyone. That's what we do every day in the trade room. Now, look, every trade isn't $1 million winner. We don't have to say that. Everybody knows. But that's 3 Netflix winners in a row that we've had, and we've made thousands of dollars on Netflix. I think we've made about 2,000 on the last 3 Netflix. I only traded 3 contracts today. I didn't trade, you know, a gigantic amount of contracts. I traded the amount of contracts a normal person could trade, okay? So, and that's one of the things that we like to show. We want to show normal people trading. So I want to thank everybody who watched us on YouTube. We're going to close down the live stream, but we're going to stay in the trade room for the API report. So thank you, everybody on YouTube, and we'll see you tomorrow for Tesla. Okay, Chantal, thank you very much.